Okay, y'all. So today we're going to be flipping the script a little bit. You know, usually people ask me questions, but today I get to be the one on the mic. So I am so excited to have someone I really admire with us on our show, Dr. Amber Childs.
Hey,
hi.
hey,
Okay, so let me just brag on my sis a little bit. So Dr. Childs is a licensed clinical psychologist and associate professor of psychiatry at Yale School of Medicine. That's where we are.
Ow.
You see that? Okay. Dr. Childs is deeply involved in anti-racism and DEI efforts with the psychiatry department and also makes technology accessible for youth for their mental health. It's like we're twins in this thing. You know what I mean? We're really out here. Boop. Great. Okay, so this week she's going to be joining us in our first mental health interview, so we're really excited about that. Let's just jump into your life and work a little bit. Is that cool?
Of course,
okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm here for it.
We've got a first question that's a little fun. So, if you had to describe your relationship with your phone in 3 emojis, what would they be?
Okay, the first emoji would be the cactus emoji because I feel like it's giving celebration. It's always like, yes! The second would be that woman who's like in her skirt doing her like frilly dress thing because I really vibe on my phone. I have fun with it.
Yeah.
The third would be the face that's like, because sometimes I'm spending way too much time. I'm getting into goblin mode. I'm getting stressed out about my phone. So it's like that like kind of face.
Mine is always the cartwheel. Like she's
I love
constant
that.
part of my life. Like the mid cartwheel girly. We'll stop there because that's one. I only need one. That's mine. The cartwheel
If
girly.
I had to just pick one, it would be the celebration cactus.
Which, you know, I've never seen that as a celebration before, but I love that.
Because the arms are there.
Yeah, no, sure.
She's like, that's perfectly normal. No, that's great.
You strike me as someone who is celebratory in nature, and that makes me think of little Amber. So I'm curious about the role of mental health as you were growing up. Did you see folks who were providers? Like, how did you even know that this was a thing to get into? How did people talk about it? Tell me about little Amber and mental health.
So baby Amber didn't really know anything about mental health. That was not something that we really talked about in my family, and no shade at all to my family. But for me, I knew what my feelings were. I sometimes had like worries about having emotions that we would call now big feelings. So everybody used to say Amber likes to listen only to fast music because if I listened to like more melodies, I would get into touch with those kind of like sadder feelings. And it wasn't something that we could really talk about in my family. Cut to me being in college at age 18 and really beginning to understand that people actually interrogate and get close with and intimate with their emotional experiences. And that just opened up something completely and entirely new for me. And I'm going to say the cap on that was having my daughter. That really was the sort of mega point of entry into thinking about emotionality and experience in a whole different way.
Okay, love that. I am thinking about baby Riri over here.
Yes,
baby
tell me
Dr.
everything.
There was one story, and actually this will take us nicely into our next question. There was one story for me when there was a tragedy at our school, and they were asking us to think about what talking to a therapist would look like for us. So they were just like, we have services available. And this is a Detroit elementary middle school. Like I had never thought about seeing a psychologist. Therapy wasn't there. And so when I thought about mental health as a young person, it just wasn't accessible, did not exist. And so that was one of the things that actually got me to think about mental health as a career. So let me actually throw that back to you. What was the moment where you were like, okay, baby Amber has gone through her own experiences of thinking about psychology, emotions, etc. But what was the thing that was like, I am going to actually take this thing and make it my life's work?
Okay, so 2 things. I was in my first undergrad class called Intercultural Communication. Dr. William Fox, F-A-U-X, had a whole sleeve of tattoos. Mm-hmm. He was a social psychologist, and he was doing work in the Pennsylvania mines to try to understand how they used language to talk about the traumatic experiences that were happening down in the mines. So he put on the board the very first day of class, it was like this Michel Foucault quote that was like, what if what you believe to be true might be otherwise so? I had never even considered that as a potential point of inquiry, and then mapping that on to the emotional experiences that people were having and how they were expressing that through their language in the minds. I was having all these conversations with him after class, and he goes, Amber, girl, I think you want to be a psychologist and you need to be a clinical psychologist. I'm going to help you enroll in this program at Georgia State where you're going to have a lot more opportunity to really do the research and things like that. So I would say that was like one crystallizing moment for me.
Yeah, you said you had two.
Oh, my second one. What was my second moment that I was going to say?
We're aging, so.
What was my second moment?
We're aging.
Oh, no. I really did forget my whole second moment of how I became a psychologist.
Okay.
I'm going to have to come back
It's
to
fine.
it.
Listen.
There is two moments. There was one moment
There
in
is another
particular,
one.
but there's a second one. It's gonna stay tuned. Stay tuned, okay?
Viewers,
I gotta leave
stay
you.
tuned.
Listen, stay tuned to the end of this to see my second thing for why I became a psychologist.
If you're able to think about it, that would be great.
Oh my gosh, what was that?
It's all good. Well, I'm thinking too about Dr. Fox.
Yeah.
I love the spelling of that. I was thinking about how he was able to show you a different representation of what a psychologist can look like. A sleeve of tattoos is not something I always think about when I think of a therapist. As you consider yourself squarely, not only squarely, but like expertly in this space, people are able to see you. They're saying, okay, she's a psychiatrist. She's someone who is skilled in this mental health space. What's the relevance? What's the importance of having representation, of seeing folks of color in this space? What do you think it does for the little Ambers or the clients who are out in the world?
Growing up in my town, it was, quote, only the bad kids who were going to the guidance counselor's office or the principal's office to talk about issues that were going on. And it was also something that was not seen to be part of what was acceptable in Black culture of like putting your business out, quote unquote, on the streets.
Yes.
And
airing the dirty laundry.
And so for me, the ability to actually adjust that narrative to come at this from a place of access to healing and the ability to access the internal wisdom that people already have inside themselves was imperative. I will never forget there was a time when I was working in our adolescent intensive outpatient program at Yale New Haven Psychiatric Hospital, and there was a young Black teenager who came in, and he was very silent for much of the conversation. And I kind of thought to myself, what's going on here? And I just looked over and I said, what's like, tell me everything. What's happening here? And he didn't quite burst into tears, but he welled up and he said to me, he goes, this is what's happening. I'm going to try not to cry, but talking about it, he goes, I've never thought that I was going to come over here and there was going to be somebody who had brown skin over here. And the ability to have even a fractional impact in his ability to access his own wisdom by just being an invitation, right? Of like, I represent that, like, yes, no, we do talk about these kinds of things. And this isn't putting your business out on the streets. I'm like forever changed by that.
Yeah.
And so I think about that deeply. I think about it, what it means for my daughter and for other children like that young man across the world.
I have a similar story, one actually that happened at Yale as well. So I was working with a client who was drawing a picture of us, and she drew herself with stick straight hair and then drew me with stick straight hair, and then she like scrunched her face and looked at me and started erasing. I was like, what is going on? She was like, and then started just drawing these squiggly curls that stood up. She was like, your hair isn't straight. But she was automatically believing, like, if we could just have someone with, if there's a human, they have straight hair, because that may have been her experience. But she was able to look at me and say, this person has a different culture than me, and seeing her, I have to like see all of her. And so that was really impactful. But similarly, I had a story when I was in training at University of Virginia. This family came in and they said, my son wanted to come to you because you look like him. And it similarly just, I welled right up like, okay, let's start your assessment. Right? But they became much more than just a client. They became family. I still know what they're up to over a decade later. And it's because of that connection that people perceive just by nothing other than having that similarity, just being able to see that curly hair and the skin, they can appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the second thing, y'all. And here's the thing.
It's happening.
So when I was in graduate school,
Yes.
I applied and I essentially wrote all the things that I think you were supposed to say, right, to get into graduate school. And I was doing whole psychological assessments, and I was very early in providing psychotherapy. But this is the question of like, when did you know you were going to become a clinical psychologist? It was when I did my own therapy. And I was already 2 years into training and had not given myself permission to be in psychotherapy. Because remember, baby Amber, we didn't talk about emotions. Yeah. Only the bad kids went to the office. We were not supposed to be talking about like putting your business out on the streets. And then when I gave myself permission to actually receive the gift that I was giving to other people, that's when I really knew. Because at one point I thought, oh, she's just gonna have to be a researcher because I'm not gonna really be able to do this. And that is being able to experience the psychotherapy myself, and not to be prescriptive. People don't have to do that if they don't want to. But that for me was like the real clencher, second clencher.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for remembering and for sharing. We as aging psychologists, we really appreciate it. We do.
Is long, but listen, she's got a bob. Is long hair chuggy or what? I feel like long hair.
Listeners, I don't know what that means, so she's putting me on game. Just want to let you know.
Listen, my main thing, baby Amber, was trying to get the long hair flowing in the wind. If you know, you know. So I'm not letting go of 1 inch of length. Period. Let me tell you that right now. Period. So trends can come and go. They can do what they got to do.
That's on y'all. That's on you. Let's change gears just a bit. Okay, so we talked about growing up and what our experiences that led us to this moment of being the world-renowned experts that we are today. But I want to dig into what's happening present day. So we know there's a lot of mis and disinformation out there. Particularly, I know that you've worked with young people in digital spaces. I'm just really curious, what are some of the ways that we know the information coming to us is accurate, is real, and then how do we help young people to make those distinctions between what is and what's not real?
Oh, I love this question. These are what I call growing your red flag skills. Yes. So essentially, how do we, as people in general, but youth in particular, become critical consumers and critical engagers with digital media and with digital health? So the number one red flag skill that I like to teach is think about the credentials that the person has said to you. If they're trying to give you some health information or mental health information, go ahead and look up, does that person have the credentials that they say they do? Are they an authority on speaking on it? Are the credentials credentialing? Does the field of study that they talk about actually even exist? Because then you can make a determination as to whether or not you want to receive that information. The second sort of red flag thing is a lot of digital media tries to play on an emotive experience. So as you think about the material that you're engaging with, is it intended to get you curious? Is it intended to create an emotional response like fear or urgency? Is it trying to get you to buy something perhaps? So really thinking about what the intention is of the content. Does it feel really fast-paced and intense, like you need to make a decision now? Is it creating a sense of confusion for you? That can be a potential red flag where you want to pause and say, wait, hold on a second. What is it that I'm wanting to take in? And then I think the third thing is being willing, to the extent that you feel comfortable, finding a trusted adult that you can share about your experiences that you're having on digital media. That adult should probably be getting curious with you in general, but if you set up kind of a relationship, a little bit of a kiki or rapport, you can say, you know what? I saw X or Y or Z, and it was giving me a weird vibe, or it wasn't passing the vibe check. Like, can I talk to you about this? And that adult should be able to be in dialogue with you about what your experiences are and to really help you unpack them, especially if you've encountered anything that does sort of give a red flag or make you feel uncomfortable. So those are 3 things off the top of my head.
Yeah, super helpful. And one thing that I will add to that, because I think it's really critical, or maybe expound upon that point on research, right? So I think what research has turned into is, I'm going to put this into Google, and I'm already dating myself because I know TikTok is the new Google, but let me just work with me. Just work with me, okay? Or write the new search. Let me not give them money, but sorry, don't strike me down. Okay, so it could be, let me just put this in to see what I get back out, and we have to be mindful that with artificial intelligence or the rise of anything, it's not any one entity that's thinking this stuff. It is compiling and sending it back to you. So whatever this information is, they're bringing it as like a summary statement and providing it back to you. That in and of itself isn't sufficient research. So if you're looking, and again, agingmyself.org, but if you go on Google, you search for something and you get that nice little paragraph at the top around here's a summary of what it is that you're asking about. It could be that there are just a bunch of things in the news recently that is making this body of research, right, like tilt one way. And so maybe you're getting the information that is posited or like contributed by some people, but that may not be the authoritative or like the real stance. So we just want to be very careful that even something like that, where you're doing the step that Dr. Amber told you to do, I'm going to do my research, that we don't stop with just that one paragraph, because that may be what someone else is trying to get us to think about or believe, but it may not be true.
That's exactly right. I would also say, like, the data that is driving a lot of the algorithms and AI content in and of itself has gaps and missingness and even biases in those data. So even if we get a response back, just as you've described, or we get content or information back from like a data aggregator, we have to know and realize that, there's some voices that were not included in that data.
Yes.
There's some people's experiences that were not included in that data. And some of the data that's available that would have been top tier at the time may have been found to be incorrect over time.
Yeah.
And so we just want to be, watchful about that. Now, if you if you search up us, you should be finding a faculty profile page. You need to be finding some research citations. You want to look up, does a PhD in clinical psychology actually exist? What is that? And what do people do to obtain that credential? And that is going to be the kind of research that Dr. Anderson is talking about that you want to do to investigate.
Which brings us beautifully to this next question. Honey, girl, and child, what is the biggest piece of mis or disinformation, the biggest myth that has been purported lately that you're like, let me just tackle? What's the thing about mental health that you have heard in the news that you're like, let me speak to that right now?
Oh, goodness. Y'all, they're going to eat me up in these comments for this. But here's the thing. When I went to Georgia State, baby Amber, her first research project was early detection of autism. Okay. And out the gate, at the time, we were already combating this research data that had come out that was biased data, that had missingness and outright fraud. Like, those were outright lies, trying to link incidences of autism spectrum disorder to vaccinations. So I would say one of the biggest pieces of misinformation, and that I think about that brings me back to like Amber 08. Amber 08 is that their correlation does not equal causation.
Come on now. Come on.
And in fact, there were no meaningful correlations between vaccines and autism spectrum disorder.
Yes.
So that's what I would say.
Give me this mic, 'cause I have something to say. You may have seen me a few weeks ago go off on something that our Health and Human Services and Education departments representatives said about trying to strip the idea of screening away from states or federal spaces like public schools. Let's just talk about this for a second. The thought was, if we get our kids out into nature more, if we give them the opportunity just to play and to eat healthy foods, then all the mental health problems that they have will go away. And in fact, we don't have to screen at places like schools to get an idea of the prevalence of some of these problems. Dearest gentle listeners, let me just clarify for a minute. Screening provides us data. It's detection, right? So if we jump back to COVID, and I know some people have thoughts on that as well, but if we were able to say, these many people in a community have this disease, what do we need to do about it? That's what a screening affords us. These many children in a school setting are experiencing mental health problems. Then let's create a prescription or a treatment for them, which can include things like getting outside, putting the phone down, having foods that are varied in nutritional content, being mindful of what is around them as well. Socially, it may be challenging to get this, so let's create some sort of plan that works for this young person. But to strip away the detection ability so that we're just giving one blanket idea, prescription, treatment to people is light years in the past. It is wildly mythical and inappropriate. And so that would be the one thing that I'm railing against.
Right. Because we can't all found a foundation shade that works for everybody. So the idea that we would find a treatment paradigm that's going to work for every single person, every single type of experience is really striking if you think about it in those terms, right?
We were just talking about our
And this is really about money too, because screening, the whole if you screen them, they will come, and then we don't have the services to meet the needs. So really, we need to be doing transformation in mental health care services out the gate.
Louder for the secretaries in the back. Oh my gosh. Sis, we have one question to close this out. It's the same thing that I ask my lovely interns that are putting this on. Shout out to the YouTube interns. So I'm really curious about one hope that you have for the future moving forward.
Oh my goodness. What would be one hope? My hope is that everybody has the opportunity to step into their fullest, freest, most authentic selves, including all of the cringiness, the nitty grittiness, so that people are not held back. I think about the life that I have as a gift. And I want to be able to live it as fully and as freely as I can. And the idea that people don't believe that they have that opportunity grieves me greatly, but that would be my hope, is that the conversations that we're having now, even these really small moments and windows, can open up access to that kind of experience for everyone.
I feel inspired and hopeful. Oh,
what about you? What is your one hope? Tell me.
Yes, it's very similar to what you were saying, and I take the phrase or the movement Black Lives Matter, and I actually change it to Black Life Matters, because not only do I want people to live and to grow and to have the opportunity to grow in years, right? Like that is a basic fundamental thing that I want people to do. I also want their life to be full, enriching, and beautiful. And so does that mean that they can do whatever it is that they want to do, as dream to be the most imaginative, creative person that they want to be, and be free of these ceilings, be free of the encumbered messages that they're getting? That is my hope, that their life can matter and that what they want to do with it is fulfilling.
I love that. Isn't imagination such a privilege? And like protecting imagination. I mean, gosh.
We're going to have to bring her back.
Yes.
She was like, let me just set up the second podcast
yes,
for you.
I will come back so quick. Let me tell you right now.
Excellent. Okay. If you want to catch our full conversation, because we're just going to chop this up and give it to y'all, but if you want to catch our full conversation, we also did a whole podcast just now with Dr. Child. So we're going to put that in the captions. Go ahead and check that out on her Grow podcast. Go ahead and shout that out to Dr. Child's Grow podcast. But I just want to thank you so much for your time. We really appreciated you, Dr. Childs. And any remaining words that we haven't said yet, just to close us out?
Live your life. Enjoy your life.
Well, it's been a joy coming to New Haven, but typically, this is Dr. Reed in NYC. Till next week.